Hey guys, this is Hudson, and the game I'm going to do a review of today is probably one of the rarest games that I have, especially since I do not live in Europe. It's extremely hard to find if you don't live in Europe. Extremely hard to get, because you have to get it shipped from there and all that. This is the Super Simon 2003, or Super Simon 2, made by Hasbro. And for some reason, it's called Super Simon, but it's not a remake of the 1979 one. I don't know why it's called Super Simon, because it is actually a remake of the Super Copycat from Tiger. And the Super Copycat was like a Simon knockoff, kind of similar to Brain Warp and Brain Shift. It had 6 buttons and 6 game modes, and it was sort of like Brain Warp or Brain Shift. This game, Super Simon 2, is exactly the same as Super Copycat, but it sounds better and does not talk. Super Copycat talked, this one does not. So, first I'm going to describe it. This is shaped like a hexagon, not a circle. A hexagon. It's about the size of most Simons, but it's a hexagon. On the outside, there are 6 buttons, and they are also different. They are different from Simon buttons. They are trapezoid shaped instead of like pizza slices or something like that. And in front of each button is a number, and in front of each number is a smaller button or switch. In front of 1 is the longest button, which plays the longest sequence you did since you turned it on. In front of 2 is the mute switch with muted on the left and sound on the right. Sorry about that. In front of 3 is the last button, which plays the last sequence you did since you turned it on. In front of 4 is a slightly bigger button, the same shape as the Simon buttons, but not nearly as big as those, but like bigger than any of the other small buttons. That's the start button, and it has a triangle on it. It starts the game, obviously. In front of 5 is the replay button, which plays the last, it lets you play the same game that you played before, like the same sequence you did before. And in front of 6 is the on-off switch with on the right and off on the left. And also, in front of each small button, except for start, there's a tiny symbol that I can't really feel because it's so small. And in the very middle is the speaker and the Simon logo. And on the back, there are 4 feet and a battery cover and 3 AA batteries. So, now I'm going to turn this on. That sound means that it's telling you to select a game from 1 to 6. I'm going to press 1. That is telling you to select how many players. Again, 1. That means select your difficulty level. And this is the only option out of those 3 that has less than 6 choices. Because if I press 5 or 6, doesn't do anything. It has 4 levels. I'm going to press 1. And it doesn't do anything else, which means press start. Oh, also, what I forgot to mention was there's these weird star-shaped things on each side of the number 4. This is just like Simon. Oops, how'd that happen? So that's what happens when you lose. Let's try this again. And that's what happens when you win. Level 1 goes up to 10 sequences. Level 2 goes up to 20. Level 3, 30. And level 4, 40. To go back to the main menu, you have to hold the start button down. And I'm not actually going to do Game 2 yet. I'm going to press 1 again. And then 6. And then just press start. Because there's no level. Now I'm playing a multiplayer game. You're supposed to pass it around every time you're supposed to pass it to the next player every time you complete a sequence. And this is the only Simon to have three sets of sounds. You've only heard the first 2 so far. You'll probably hear the third at some point. Yep. 2 players have just lost. 2 players have lost. And another one just did. But it's giving me the same sequence. Meaning you can play multiplayer as a single person and have lives. You can have up to 5 lives. So that is very useful. So now let's go on to Game 2. Game 1 was called Simon. Game 2 is called Challenge Simon. And in this one, it doesn't do anything. You have to create your own sequence. Oops. Let's try that again. And I won. So now, game 3. This one is called Group Simon. And if you try to select one player, nothing happens. So I'll choose 3. And it doesn't do anything. But you can't press start either. You have to select which buttons the 3 players are going to be using. I just chose 2, 3, and 5, but it just went duh, 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 which is kind of stupid. It didn't go duh, duh, duh. It just went duh, duh, duh. I think that might be a glitch. But now no buttons work. So now this means press start. And this is the 3rd set of sounds. That's how much time you have in all the games, except for one. Not much. So 3 is out, and it just made up started a new sequence. It's making a new sequence with just 2 and 5, and then 2 presses at the wrong time. So 5 wins. Next is game 4. And this one is pretty much exactly like game 1. It is exactly like game 1 as a blind person. I've been told that all the lights are on except the one that I'm pressing. But it just makes the sounds of the buttons you're supposed to hit. So it's exactly like normal Simon. Oops. I don't really care about beating this one. And multiplayer for Game 4 works exactly like it does in 1 and 2, where it just keeps, it continues the same sequence until all the players are out, except for one. The next mode is definitely the most unusual mode on Simon. This is Codebuster. It did not ask how many players because this is a one-player only game. And it has, again, 4 levels. Even though this isn't a game that's on a classic Simon, it still has 4 levels. So now I'm just going to press start. And it gave me a thing. And now I have to try different combinations. No. There we go. And now I'm going to do level 4. Level 1, you have to find 6. Level 2 is 7. Level 3 is 8. And level 4 is 9. And you have a minute every time to find the code. What? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oops. Okay. That wasn't great. But I don't really care. So, moving on to the last game. Game 6. This one is called Double Trouble. And here's why. Yep, it gives you 2 at a time. I'll press the replay button. See, it's the same pattern, but with different sounds. That was ridiculous. It was like almost all of it was just a circle. That was ridiculous. And multiplayer, again, works the same way as it does in 1, 2, and 4. Where you have lives, pretty much, if you're playing as one person. So, yeah, that was pretty much it for the Super Simon 2. It's a really fun game, but unfortunately it's very hard to get. unless you live in Europe. So, if you do live there, or if you can afford having it shipped here, then you should definitely get it, because it's a very fun game.